Hello and welcome back. I'm Joseph Hoffman. Today we are learning an etude by Albert Biehl. An etude is a musical piece whose main purpose is to be a kind of learning tool. It's a musical exercise or study. In fact, the word etude means study in French. In my opinion, some of the best etudes in the piano repertoire are the incredible Chopin etudes. They are a lot of fun to play. This is Chopin's Etude in G-flat major, Opus 10, number 5. It's nicknamed the Black Keys Etude because the right hand only plays black keys the entire piece, and at true prestissimo speed. And another favorite of mine is Chopin's Etude in C minor, Opus 10, number 12, nicknamed the Revolutionary Etude. If you continue to work hard for several years, you'll be playing those etudes too. But for now, let's tackle this etude by Biehl. Here's the score for Etude in C. What do you notice? I'm noticing a tempo indication of allegro moderato. Allegro, you know, means fast. Moderato means medium tempo. Sometimes a composer can combine to indicate medium fast for the tempo of this piece. You might have noticed a new term in this piece, poco a poco, which is Italian for little by little. And so we're going to crescendo from starting at piano or very quiet, and then little by little, implying for the whole duration until you see a new dynamic. We're getting louder, 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 all the way up to forte. We should always check our clefs, treble and bass, no surprises. And then now we're also looking for a key signature, which, if there was one, would go right here in between the treble clef and the time signature. You could also find one down here in the bass clef. Do you see any sharps and flats? No. So that means we are in the key of C major or A minor. How do we know which? Could be this, could be this. Well, the title of the piece kind of gives it away. Etude in C, or we can look at the first note or last note. The first note is C. We know the title is C, and because we have no sharps or flats, we know we're in the key of C major for this piece. And our time signature is 4/4. So you know we'll have 4 quarter note beats for every measure. Now let's take a look at what's happening. Our left hand is playing these whole note, 2-note chords. Our right hand, however, is doing what? How would you describe what's happening in this first measure? We start on a C, and if we see a pattern, line, space, etc., we know we're going up by step. We go from C all the way to what? We have a 1-octave scale from C to C, all white keys. What do you notice about this measure? Is it the same or different? We have a sequence going on here. A sequence is where you take the same pattern but move it up a step or down a step. And in this case, we've gone up a step to D, and we have another 1-octave scale from D to D. Then what happens here? What note do we start on now? If you said E, you're correct. Another 1-octave scale starting on E. Now, can you look ahead and see how long that pattern continues? Remember, you always have to check every note. Are we always stepping? Are we always going up? See, each of these first notes is also stepping up. Start on C, then we're on D, then we're on E. How long does that pattern continue? Take a look and find where the pattern might break. If you look carefully, you'll notice the pattern continues here. We start on F, going up a 1-octave scale. We start on G, up a 1-octave scale. We start on A, up a 1-octave scale. We start on B, up a 1-octave scale. Here's where the pattern breaks. Can you tell me what notes we see inside this box. Pause the video and figure out the letter names of these 4 notes. And I encourage you to download this sheet music from our website so you can mark and analyze and have your own sheet music at home. So pause and download if you need to. Figure out the names of these notes and then press play and we'll check it out together. These notes spell C, E, G, C. And put all together, that's a C major triad with an extra C on top, played as an arpeggio. And then back down to C here. A C major arpeggio to end this section. So that brings us to the end of the A section. There are more lines to come that we'll learn in a later lesson, but for now, let's try to play this section. All right, I'll demonstrate the right-hand part for you once, and then I'll let you try it on your own. We're going to place right-hand finger 1 on middle C, Now you'll notice I use the same fingering that we've already learned for our 1-octave C major scale, where I go 1, 2, 3, and then my thumb is sneaking under 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that same fingering applies to all these other scales as well, from D to D, from E to E, etc. And then when we do our arpeggio, we're using our standard arpeggio fingering 1, 2, 3, 5, then back down to 1. Okay, now I'd like you to press pause and try playing through that entire thing once or twice, and then press play again, and I'll give you a few additional tips for your practicing. Since this is an etude, I want you to be really careful to be using the correct technique. The whole point of this piece is so you can study a really good scale technique. When you're playing an ascending scale with your right hand, remember, I want you to think about getting your thumb under early. As you're playing fingers 2 and 3, that thumb is already sneaking under to F, so you don't have to wait for the last minute. For example, I see some beginning students play and they keep their thumb out here until the last possible minute, and then they have to kind of jerk their arm to get their thumb over in time. You want it to be a smooth, subtle motion where the thumb just gradually glides under so it's in position the moment you need it. Another technique I want you to be aware of is this kind of leading your hand up by kind of turning your wrist and elbow out a little bit away from your body, and think of leading your hand up. So your hand will actually be kind of a little bit at an angle, not facing straight to the keys. But you're going to kind of lead with the wrist and arm up the keys in a really smooth motion. Keeping all your fingers close to the keys in that nice piano posture curved shape, and that thumb just gliding under really smoothly, not with the flappy elbow. No flappy elbows. Just a smooth glide under. Okay, now will you try this one more time? And I want you to think about kind of turning your wrist and elbow slightly out as you play to help that thumb come under. Think about your finger shape, think about your thumb coming under early, and try this one more time. Then press play when you're ready to go on. Another tip I wanted to mention was for the arpeggio. Remember, like I've said before, don't try and stretch your fingers out to completely cover all the notes you need. Just stretch one at a time. If you know you need that E, just stretch up to the E, then stretch finger 3 to the G, then pinky to the C, and then you can float back to C. You're not going to do it like this. See how I'm touching all the notes at the same time? You're going to just do each note as you need it. 1, 2, 3, 5, 1. Now, will you try that a couple times? Good. Let it feel as natural as you can. You're going to kind of glide your hand over and then circle back down. Kind of think of this circle shape with your hand. Good. Now, the last tip I wanted to share was to use the metronome. It's your favorite tool, your favorite friend, right? I love practicing with the metronome. It forces me to keep a steady beat, and then I can also measure my progress. As I get faster and faster, I can tell because I'm speeding up the metronome. Now, I want you to start really slow, maybe at about, I've got my metronome set to 108 beats per minute. We're going to do it one note per click at first. And you'll see that that's quite slow, but then you can really master your technique. When you can do that with no missed notes, then maybe speed it up to, say, 126. Play through the whole thing again until you can do it with no missed notes, no pauses, and keep speeding it up. I've got it at 152. Keep going and going until, let's say you get it up to 200 beats per minute. You might be thinking, whoa, now I'm going pretty fast, 200 beats per minute. But you're not going the full speed I want you to go yet. See, we've been playing one note per click. It is possible with the metronome to not play one note per click, but 2 notes per click. Basically twice as fast as what you hear the metronome doing. So, at 200 beats per minute, if I turn the metronome back down to 100 beats per minute and go 2 notes per click, that will actually be the same speed we were just doing. It just won't sound so frantic. See, so this is kind of like my quarter note, but we're going to be playing eighth notes. Try saying TT with this quarter note beat. TT, 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 ba, 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 ba. So go this fast. TT, 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 TT. So the metronome is giving us ta, or quarter notes, and we're playing TT. So now we can speed it up from there. So once you've done 100, 2 notes per click, then maybe 112, 2 notes per click. And then the final speed I want you to shoot for, this may take you a week or maybe even 2 weeks to get here, 126, 2 notes per click. Get the idea? Now, you might be going really fast on those scales, but make sure you can do the arpeggio equally fast. Sometimes I hear a student go, they're getting towards the end, then they suddenly go super slow motion for that arpeggio. That's not correct. The arpeggio is written in eighth notes too, just like the scales, so it has to go the same speed. So if you're going T T T T T T T T T T T T T T ta, the arpeggio has to be the same speed as your scales. Okay, it's your turn to start practicing. Again, start really slow with the metronome at about 108 and just build it up from there. Great work learning the right hand part for Etude in C by Biehl. Happy practicing and see you next time. Hey, you know that video Mr. Hoffman showed us of the Black Keys Etude by Chopin? It's pronounced Chopin. Right. Well, I found a video of someone playing that etude with an apple. What are you talking about? You can't play an etude with an apple. Watch and learn. See? He played the etude with an apple! Wow, you were right. I wonder if
he actually ate that apple?
That's one very musical fruit.